The years passed slowly, yet Bulwa's sacrifice never faded from the minds of those who had witnessed it. His friends, now free, went on to lead lives that reflected the depth of gratitude they felt. But the memory of Bulwa's steadfastness weighed heavily on them, urging them to live with the same courage, the same commitment to others that he had shown. They carried his legacy in every decision they made, from the way they raised their families to the way they treated the community around them. The village, too, became a place of profound unity. Bulwa's sacrifice was not just the act of one man for a few friends, it became a symbol of collective responsibility. The elders began to speak more fervently about the importance of selflessness and standing up for others, especially in times of injustice. They taught the youth about how true leadership came from the willingness to sacrifice, to sometimes put the needs of others before your own. Even the government, in the years that followed, began to recognize Bulwa's act. Whispers of his courage reached the highest offices, and although they never publicly acknowledged the story, there were murmurs of respect. The authorities, recognizing the power of such a tale, began to soften in their treatment of the villagers. There was a shift, a subtle acknowledgement that perhaps the story of Bulwa had changed something deep within them. But for Bulwa's friends, life remained bittersweet. They tried to move forward, to honor the gift of freedom they had been given. They worked the land, rebuilt homes, and offered support to those in need. Yet, every year on the anniversary of Bulwa's imprisonment, they would gather at the village square, beneath the great tree where Bulwa had once sat, and remember him. One of his closest friends, Akil, had become the village leader after Bulwa's sacrifice. He was a man of honor, a man who had learned from Bulwa's wisdom, but his heart always ached with the knowledge of what Bulwa had given up for him. As Akil grew older, he often found himself reflecting on his own responsibilities. He knew that the true gift Bulwa had left behind wasn't just the freedom of his friends, but a way of life, a way of standing up for what was right, no matter the personal cost. One day, as the sun dipped low in the sky, Akil stood before the village, ready to speak at the annual gathering. He looked out at the sea of faces, young and old, all looking to him, waiting for his words. He spoke not of politics or policy, but of Bulwa. He spoke of the man who had sacrificed everything, not because he had to, but because he chose to. "My brothers and sisters," Akil began, his voice steady but filled with emotion, "there are times in life when we are called upon to make a choice. We must decide what we value most, our comfort, our safety, or the well-being of those we love." Bulwa, in his wisdom, knew what was truly important. He didn't just stand up for his friends. He stood for us all. For the future of this village, for the future of our children. Akil paused, his gaze drifting to the horizon where the sun had now set, casting an orange glow over the land. "And so we must carry his spirit forward. We must be like Bulwa, not for ourselves, but for the generations that will come after us. We owe it to him, to ourselves, to live with courage, to always stand up for what is right, even when the price is high." The crowd remained silent for a long moment, the weight of Akil's words settling into their hearts. As the night grew darker, the firelight flickered, casting long shadows. The people sang songs in honor of Bulwa, stories passed down about his bravery, and his name lived on, not just in words but in the actions of those who had been touched by his spirit. As the years continued to unfold, a memorial was built at the entrance to the village, a simple stone structure that bore Bulwa's name. It was not a grand monument, but it was enough. The villagers made pilgrimages to it each year to pay their respects and to remember. Over time, the monument became a place of reflection, not just for those in the village, but for travelers and strangers who passed by. They would stop, ask about Bulwa's story, and leave with a renewed sense of purpose, inspired by a man they had never met but whose sacrifice echoed in the way they lived. Bulwa, though physically gone, had transcended death. His sacrifice had shaped a generation. His selflessness had altered the course of the village's future, binding its people together in a way that no law or government mandate ever could. And so, as the generations passed, the legend of Bulwa endured. His story was told not as a tale of loss, but as a celebration of what it means to truly be free. Free not in the absence of chains, but in the fullness of the heart, willing to give everything for the good of others. In the end, Bulwer had taught them all the greatest truth: that true freedom lies not in the unchained body, but in the unshackled soul.